can do it, whether you could possibly, whether you'd still be alive when the lawsuits were ended, if you tried to do it. But in order to value real estate, you look at the phrase is the highest and best use, and you try to figure out what's the best use that will generate the most value. And if that's a timber company, then you have to look at how much timber you can cut. If it's as a park, then you look at what you can charge for admission. But yeah, when you value real estate, you have to look at different uses. Can it be sold off to pay operating expenses? Certainly. But of course, if you sell it off to pay operating expenses, you paid expenses, but then what do you have? You got nothing. So I think probably, if you want to have an operating business, you have to hold on to a good portion of real estate to maintain a business. Here's the best question of the night. Define honest debtor. And it's like the Supreme Court's definition of pornography. You know it, yeah, I can't define it, but I know it when I see it. It's sort of the same. The honest debtor gets a fresh start. And whenever you hear a court use that phrase, you know that this guy did something bad. Because otherwise it wouldn't come up. Maxim and Pacific Lumber's SEC filings acknowledge an unfunded $20 million pension liability. Is that important? Yes and no. And I don't know enough facts. As I've said, tried to say a couple times, I don't know enough facts to give you a complete answer on the pension question. Almost every corporate pension plan in this country is underfunded. They almost all are. And there are benign reasons for that, and there are evil reasons for that. Let me give you a benign reason. If I have a corporation with 100 employees, and some of them are 60, and some of them are 40, and some of them are 20, and today I institute a pension plan, and the plan says, after you retire, I'll pay 50% of your salary for the rest of your life. That's my plan, and I started today, and tomorrow, those people who are 60 retire. Well, the plan's hopelessly underfunded. I haven't put anything into it, and I got to start making payments. So every plan is underfunded when it starts. And the government, when it set up these pension plans, it said, well, if we make them fully funded at the beginning, if I make them put in enough money today to cover everybody who's going to retire tomorrow, and enough to pay out for the next 40 years, no one will ever start a pension plan. It's just too much. So the way it works with pension plans and ERISA works is, you want to start a pension plan, great. You got to fund liabilities that accrue this year, but for the catch-up, we'll let you pay that up over time. So they all start off underfunded. They all try to catch up. That's one way, and that's a benign way they can be underfunded. What's the evil way they can be underfunded? The owner loots the money. He takes the money. That's the bad way it can be underfunded. And there's a combination. You're required to make payments every year into the fund to fund it. But gee whiz, if you don't have enough money to do that and pay your rent, and you go to the PBGC and say, I can't do it and pay my rent, PBGC will often say, okay, pay as much as you can to pay the rest next year. Why do they do that? Because the alternative is you'll cancel the plan, and they don't want you to cancel the plan, so they'll let you stretch it out a little bit. All pension plans are unfunded. What's important is there enough money in there to make the obligations that come due this year? That's what's important. When it says it's 20 million underfunded, that means I've got 1,000 workers, I'm going to owe them all $1,000. If I add up everything I owe them, it's $1,000 per worker for the rest of their lives. That's $1 million. I've only got $500,000 in the pot. Well, I'm $500,000 underfunded, but it doesn't really matter, because I don't know some of that for years down the road. As long as I'm making payments right now, the hope is that continued earnings over the years will make up the difference. So, yeah, you'd rather that they said in their SEC filing is 20 million overfunded. That'd be fabulous. But it'd also be extremely rare. As long as they're continuing to make payments, as long as Maxim is on the hook, I really don't think that that pensions are an issue at this point. But don't, I don't know what's going to happen a year from now. And certainly it's appropriate to be vigilant and pay attention. I don't know what's going to happen. But in everything I've read about this case, I've never heard that pensions are an issue in the way they were in so many of the other cases, like United Airlines and some of these other cases. Will the filing of Chapter 11 finally limit profit growers over the short term, long term? He can't take out any money while the company's in Chapter 11. All the value that's in these entities, until there's a resolution of how creditors get paid, none of the money gets upstream to Maxim or Hurwitz. None of it. In the long term, if the company's worth $1 billion and he's able to restructure his debt, yeah, he can continue to take money out. But as long as the company's in Chapter 11, he can't take out any money. Can the court's final ruling be appealed? Yes. All court's rulings can be appealed. And I'm not sure which particular issue you're talking about. Certainly, if the court says, I'm going to keep the case in Texas, or I'm going to transfer it to California, in either case, the losing side will appeal that decision. And then there's a second question, what happens while the appeal is pending? The court could say, the court has the power to stay its decision, in which case, if they transferred it, the case would stay in Texas while the appeal was pending, or vice versa. So we could get a final ruling on this issue on Tuesday, or it could be delayed. The appeal would probably take a couple of months. It could be appealed. My view, I don't know how it will come out. I don't know how that issue the judge will decide on Tuesday. But even if one side appeals, the appeal will almost certainly lose. I'll tell you that, the appeal will almost certainly lose. The Court of Appeals will just say, it's a big mess, I don't want to deal with it. That judge will let that judge decide. If the DA's fraud lawsuit is successful, how will this affect bankruptcy? I'm not familiar with that lawsuit. I can't answer that question. But maybe someone up here can answer it. And that's all I got. So, thanks very much. Let's get some apple juice.
Thank you so much for such an excellent informative workshop, Peter.
Yeah, nice of you to say so. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure for me to be here, and I wish you all the best of luck with this horrible situation.
One idea we were just talking about as a potential future workshop is around the whole pension issue. If that's something that is of interest to you, let us know on your evaluation form, yeah, you'd like to see that or not. The website, again, I want to mention this website that's here, and it's on your form, and it's on here. There's going to, right now, most of the legal documents are there on the website. The information Peter mentioned about the bankruptcy court contact information for Texas, we'll get that up there. We're trying to get some information about Maxam's bankruptcy history, and we will get that up there. We're trying to get information about the creditors committee, and we're going to work on getting this question thing set up. So check that out, and again, thank you for your attention and cooperation tonight, and we look forward to seeing you perhaps in another workshop.